coming? Let's go pull the taps.
It's hard to see him, but Ziggy is right there. For some reason, he decided he was going to be pretty stubborn this morning. He wanted to come out with me and pull the taps. But then we got into the woodshed where I keep all the tap collecting equipment. I think he found a mouse or a squirrel, so he wasn't super interested in spending the rest of the morning with me walking around when he could just as easily have been rooting around trying to catch whatever it was he smelled in the woodpile.
Oh, you're gonna be stubborn today, huh? Well, I'm going for a walk. You're gonna miss out. Ooh. Not be saving that. Disgusting.
I've spoken before about the fact that one of the things I like most about Maine is that we have 4 distinct seasons. I enjoy the cyclical nature of that reality, as well as appreciating the knowledge that my understanding, such as it is, of the rhythms of the seasons and the tasks associated with each year in and out, connects me to dozens of human generations, all of whom colored within the lines those seasons drew for them far better than we do today.
You're a stubborn one, Ziggy, I'll tell you that. You haven't moved from that spot.
One thing that happens every year is the eventual urge to throw in the towel on maple sap collection. This is dictated by the trees, or rather by the way the trees interact with the world around us. At some point every spring, the nightly temperature stops plummeting quite so low, and when the days are warm and the nights aren't below freezing, the sap slows down and changes in quality. You can gauge it by the temperature, but also by the swelling of the buds high up in the canopy. This season was short, for me at least. I don't know how the commercial producers did because Maine Maple Sunday was canceled this year due to the pandemic. But those guys tap way earlier than I do, and I'm sure they got quite a bit. You can never have enough maple syrup, so it's a bummer that it went so quickly for me. But I let the earth tell me when I'm done, and she's pretty sure that time is now. At least as far as maple syrup is concerned. For years, I've done my maple sap collection by hand, walking to and fro through the woods on snowshoes when necessary, and just boots once the melting allows, carrying sap 10 gallons at a time. I was in that rhythm again for about half this project, until it dawned on me I really should be using my newly purchased tractor. I've been saving money for years, and just before the pandemic basically stopped everything in Maine, this beauty landed in my inbox from the many tractor supply watching services I've subscribed to. It seemed fortuitous, and I jumped on it. So far, this investment has been well worth it. This is a 2014 John Deere 2305, and only had 108 hours on it when I bought it. I guarantee it will get far more use on our homestead. Normally at this point, after the bucket covers and taps have all been collected and washed, I would be putting them out to dry and then, shortly after, putting them away for the year. But this year, I'm excited to try something I've been wanting to try for a long time. I'm going to try to tap birch trees, make birch syrup. I've always wanted to try it, and we have a bunch of fairly good-sized, at least for around here, birch trees in little clusters throughout the property. Just before maple tapping season, I did a bunch of research, and I'm glad I did. I was going to go buy a few more buckets, taps, tubes, and covers so I could tap the birch alongside the maple. It turns out that's not the time to tap birch trees. Birch needs to be tapped later than maple. In fact, The end of maple season tells you it's time to tap the birch trees, at least from what I've read. That's convenient. It saved me some money and took the stress of collecting more buckets per day. For some reason, I had it in my head that you shouldn't drill as far into birch as you do into maple, so the first few trees I tapped didn't really work very well. I couldn't get the tap in far enough to prevent the sap from leaking out of the hole. After about the fourth or fifth tree, I realized what I was doing wrong and went back and drilled those holes a little bit deeper, pushing the tap in so that the sap stopped leaking out of the hole, instead traveling down the tube and into the bucket.
Alright, just put out 8 taps. 2 into this one bucket and all the others have their own bucket. And I don't know if I've done it right, but a good sign is I put this tap in, and then after I was done drilling this one, before I even got the tap in, I could hear a thunk, thunk, thunk. And I don't think you'll be able to hear it on the camera if I'm quiet enough. But at any rate, even if you can't hear it, it's coming out already. Amazing. Wow, it's a beautiful day, and I just went out to the hoop house, and while I was out there, I figured I'll check the buckets on the birch and see how they're doing. I have so much to learn about making birch syrup. They are far more productive sap trees than maple. The buckets are full. One of them, I opened the lid and it gushed out. There was so much pressure in there. So I gotta go collect all that stuff. And yeah, a lot to learn. I think it takes, from what I understand, it takes a lot more birch sap to boil down and make syrup. It's like, what is it, 40 to 1 for maple, but I think it's between 80 and 110 to 1 for birch. So it's good that they're producing a lot, but I didn't expect them to essentially be gushers of sap. So I'm gonna go collect them. Here's my double tap here with this tree that was remarkably productive right when I tapped it. So let's see here. Yeah, almost a full bucket. That's awesome. First tree I tapped. Let's see how it's going. I think this one's pretty full. I remember. Came out early with the kids. Check this out. I think this one's super full. Yeah. Okay. So the tree is not actually producing that much sap. There's just an air bubble that has to travel from the bottom of this tube all the way back up to the tap. And once that happens, that flow will stop. Though the kids were pretty excited before they knew that, thinking that the tree was just pouring out this much sap. Because my tubes are really long, it takes a while. There we go.